What is going on, Diesel Nation? We're excited to have you guys with us today on the most downloaded and the highest rated truck podcast on iTunes. And we're not just talking diesel trucks, we're talking gas trucks, anything like that. You guys have given this podcast a life of its own. And I had a conversation with someone in the industry recently, and they were asking me, how do you guys do what you do? How do you come up with the content, the stories, the consistency? How do you guys do all this stuff? And the answer is very simple. It's because this is your podcast. As a listener, as a diesel enthusiast, as a racer, we're simply just helping connect the stories to everyone else out there. And that's really the secret of it, is you guys, our fans, how passionate you are, how excited you are to share your stories, talk about your builds, the emotional connections that you have with your race truck or your daily driver or something you restored. So we want to encourage you guys that are out there that might have just, heard about us, subscribed, or maybe you've been a listener for years. If you would like to share your story, you want to talk about a product, a shop that you started and grew, a build, anything like that, send us a message. We want to talk to you. You can find us on Instagram or Facebook. Just search The Diesel Podcast, or you can send us an email at info@thedieselpodcast.com. And I love reading your messages. I'm reading them late at night, early in the morning, on weekends. So make sure you send those, and we want to encourage you guys to keep doing what you've been doing. Now, on today's episode, as of it going live, Fleece Performance has just released their PowerFlow lift pump for the LML Duramax, which is huge. It's been highly anticipated. And we have Brayden and Chase Fleece from Fleece Performance on to talk to us about this kit, also the one for the Cummins, and all that went into developing it, from the pump, the sending unit, how it installs, how it works in minus 17 degree weather, the power levels it'll support, all the details of it. We know you guys are going to love hearing about this. And we're also going to throw some listener questions. We had asked you guys on Instagram this week, hey, what should we ask the guys from Fleece Performance? So we're going to jump into some 12-valve stuff, Cheetah turbos, exhaust brakes, other things you guys have asked. So you're going to want to stick around towards the end to hear the answers from Brayden and Chase. Before we get to the podcast, we want to thank two of our partners who help make episodes like this possible. The first is Diesel World Magazine, and they've been a tremendous force in diesel for years. They cover everything, and they don't stop just when race season stops. So year round, they're getting stories, products, product reviews, product showcases, builds, everything out there for all of us to be able to see and find inspiration from in our own, with our own builds or our own race trucks and things like that. So make sure you go to dieselworldmag.com, bookmark the page, check it out. They're updating it daily, and stay up to date on the latest in diesel. And also, we want to welcome a new partner to the podcast, and that's Nitro Gear. We had Jeremy from Nitro Gear on recently, and he was talking to us about the need to re-gear our trucks when we go to 35s, 37s, or larger tires, and what that can do to save the transmission, increase performance, give us our fuel economy back, optimize that operating RPM range. So you're going to be hearing from these guys more and more. We're going to be talking about more details as it relates to the axles, driveline, gearing, things like that, whether it's racing or daily driver application. So make sure and go to www.nitro-gear.com. Check out what they got for your Cummins, Duramax, or Powerstroke. If you got questions, definitely hit them up. Those guys know what we do to these trucks. They understand how we modify them, what we're doing with them. And so if you've got a Turbo 400 behind a 5.9 drag truck, they can help you with gearing. So they're familiar with all that, whereas other places, they might not know what you're talking about once you mention Turbo 400 and 5.9 Cummins. These guys do, so make sure and check them out. All right, let's get to the podcast with Brayden and Chase Fleece.
This is Corey Willis with PPEI, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
I'm Adam Blattenberg from Diesel World.
This is Dan, owner of Dan's Diesel Performance.
I'm Kaz from Diesel Doctor of Tennessee, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
Brayden and Chase, it is great to have you guys back on the Diesel Podcast. I think we chatted about a year ago this time about lift pumps, and that's the topic for today, is talk about this new product and what you guys are doing with it. So we're glad to have you back on.
Lift Pumps, the sequel. Yep. Good to be on. Thanks for having us.
Thanks. We kind of shelled the beach a little bit on social media, and we're like, we want questions to ask Brayden and Chase about lift pumps. But I want to start kind of at the beginning and ask you guys, why did you decide to make a lift pump?
Well, we kind of saw some opportunity in the market. We were installing, a lot of the other guys out there, and we had customers coming in with blown fuses and gelled up filters, and you can only handle so much of that as recommending a product before it starts to wear on you. And I kind of had an idea that, hey, let's just look at what factory setups are and see if we can make it better. And we ended up coming up with this, 2-pump arrangement that is ultra reliable. It's a tier 1 supplier of automotive G-rotor pumps. So you aren't reinventing the wheel there. There's 2 pumps. Each one pump is bigger than a factory Dodge in-tank pump and flow. So we've got 2 of those in there, and they're working out really well.
Big thing I think on my end was the fact that, we've got a truck shop as well, and we're dealing with customers that come in and, they're ticked off getting their truck hauled in on a tow truck, and, the trucks are gelled up, and, we bring them in, figure out, a pop a fuse or something like that, from restriction, the motor just, can't handle it, or it, get water or something in the motor structure because it wasn't sealed up good, and there's just plenty of opportunity to make a better product for the end consumer. So that's kind of the direction we went, and we had a target horsepower goal in mind of around 800 horsepower, and on our 2016 Dodge Mega Cab, that was the first truck that we started working on this lift pump with, and we had a set of compound turbos. I think it was like a 475 and I think a 366 or something like that. Had that set up and had 100 over injectors and our 10 mil pump, and it effortlessly hit that 800 number, which is kind of what we designed it to do. And that being said, we knew that the power wasn't going to be an issue. We wanted to make sure that the longevity was going to be there. We weren't going to have trouble in the winter, and really we've got tons of miles on the LML product, which is what we're talking about today. We've had a 2011 truck that I'd say we've probably put 25,000 miles on over the past year and a half, 2 years with this pump. So we've got a lot of confidence in the product, and really looking forward to bringing it to market.
That 800 horsepower mark is really interesting, because I think most trucks fall up to or kind of in that area if you're using it every day and just want a little bit more performance, is that covers the guy that say has an aggressive tune on there. But then also, if you get into the compound set and the modified CP3 and injectors, like you mentioned, you can still run the same lift pump versus how it used to be is, you get one pump, the performance or the fuel demands exceed it, and now you got to go buy another one or buy another pump or do something like that. So I think it's really cool. You encompass such a wide power range in the one pump.
We wanted to cover all the bases basically, and I feel like it accomplishes what we were trying to do. It's not the end-all be-all pump for everyone. I mean, there's still a place for the other pumps in the aftermarket, but these trucks are just so nice nowadays. You get like a new 2016 Ram up to 2018. The trucks are silent. Last thing you want is to hear that big loud pump hanging off the side of it and listen to it whine. So that was kind of our direction.
I remember the first time I put an aftermarket lift pump on a truck, I was like, is there a pissed off squirrel underneath the truck or what's going on? I didn't know what it was. And you just, especially when it gets cold, you hear them. So that's cool. Yeah. I had Matt Chambers from Alligator Performance on recently, and we were talking about one of the UCC live builds in his 6.7 Cummins. And he's like, I'm using the fleece pump. And one of the things he mentioned in there that I wanted to ask you guys about is how to install them, or installing one of the pumps. And he was telling us how easy it was. But how did the install factor into how you guys designed this system for the shop or the guy that's going to do it in his driveway on the weekend?
We just wanted something that, it made sense. You didn't have a bunch of bracketry and a bunch of hoses hanging down or a sump that you had to install. We just kind of tried to think about how the factory did it and accomplish it at a higher level. So when you think about that, you're dropping the tank anyway if you're going to put in a draw straw or, modify the tank. I've never put a sump in, so I can't speak to that nature. But, you're dropping the tank. It doesn't take any time, and you pull the old sending unit out.
Pull the bed. I mean, some guys pull the bed. It's 6 one way, you have to another. But
if I had to pick, I'd be dropping the tank any day of the week. It's just easy. You get 2 straps and put a trans jack under it and drop the thing down. You're good to go. So obviously, don't drop it with a full tank of fuel. That would be very smart.
Yeah.
But no, one of the other things, guys who are new to diesel, they'll typically go online and search. They're trying to upgrade the fuel system, and they read about you get the fuel down below a quarter tank and issues with that. This system doesn't have any of those concerns or problems, does it?
Yeah, so we've all been there. I mean, we've grown up in the diesel industry, and educating a customer that, like, hey, this is an awesome new fuel system, blah, 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 but don't run it below a quarter tank. And they're like, what? And they just don't understand. And then one time running out of fuel and they get it. But you don't want to have to educate your customer. One, you don't want to lose that capacity, but two, it needs to work like OEM. And like we were saying, it works just like stock, but can get you that 800 horsepower, and we really don't give up anything. And the way that's achieved is not really new technology. It's just something that they've designed in from the factory on most fuel buckets or modules. It's an active fill, and they put a venturi on the bottom of that bucket, and that sits in a little well or sump, and not to be confused with a hole saw in the bottom of your tank sump. But it sits in that little well, and it's scavenging fuel off the bottom the entire time. So as long as that bucket is full, people can look up on the website what they look like. They haven't seen them, but as long as that bucket is got some amount of fuel around it, it's going to be full of fuel, because the return fuel comes into the bucket as well. So it's really neat watching our demo. We may put that up on our website, but you can see there's a little square hole in the top of that bucket, and it's just always overflowing with fuel anytime this thing's running. So on first startup, it fills that bucket, and from there there's two passive checks that keep it full of fuel at all times. So you've always got positive fuel covering the inlet of those pumps. It can never get air in there. It can never suck air on a first start. So that kind of segues into another thing. We don't really worry about air separation because we never introduce any air into the system. And
to elaborate on that, one way to enter or get air to enter into the system, if you have a draw straw or a sump, if you're below a half tank of fuel and you smash the brakes, your fuel is going to run into the front of the tank. And most of these tanks, they're not baffled well or anything to keep the fuel in there. So that's going to fly forward, and it's going to have the opportunity to suck air. You'll hear the pump change tone, and the whine will get high pitched, and it has to have a way to get rid of the air, or it's going to fill the system, and the truck's going to sputter and try to die. So, you're doing a hard brake or hard acceleration, something like that, when you don't have full tank of fuel, you're going to enter air into the system.
And that was something I was going to ask you, because it's with new listeners that we get, or it seems like there's a huge trend of people that are getting into diesel trucks, whether they're the older ones or the newer ones, is they don't know, well, why is air and fuel even an issue? I've never thought about it. I never had to deal with it on my other vehicles. Is it something where, say, if you have that constant issue, it may not kill the truck, but does it do damage to the fuel system? What exactly can that air and the fuel do?
Well, I mean, I haven't researched as much as I'm assuming the competitors that do sell on that bullet point. But you've always heard that it's, these bubbles are going to be in your fuel system, and then they burst, and like cavitation or whatever, it causes damage to the injectors. But where we asked these questions to TI Automotive, they're a massive global company that makes these pumps for us, and that we buy the pumps from, and then we create these lift pump assemblies. The way we look at things, if somebody already builds something very well, don't go try to beat them. Go try to leverage their knowledge and join up with them and build something great. And so that's kind of what we've done. And every time we ask them about air in the fuel system, they just kind of give us a blank stare. And I've looked through tons of white papers from the automotive field, and they're really just not worried about entrained air. We really don't put much thought to it, because we don't introduce any air. After that first fire up, that bucket never will empty. You'd have to turn the truck upside down to get it empty.
I think, and if you're upside down, you've got bigger problems.
That is true. That is true. I think that that's a really key point, though, for the people that are listening, is because we've been ingrained for so long
It's
to
always
ask that
flooded.
question. Like, well, what about the air and fuel?
And
What about
here's the
air and
thing: we're not trying to open up an argument about the air. If people want to focus on that and run a different lift pump for that purpose, so be it. We designed this thing, like I said, drop right in to a factory truck. We wanted our target market. We've got farmers, people use their trucks every day, construction workers. They can't have the chance of their truck gelling up in the dead of winter. I think this kind of segues into a good point. We've had customers that we've sold aftermarket lift pumps to, and like I said, been on service calls getting their trucks thawed out in the middle of the hospital parking lot because he was taking his daughter to work. I did this, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. But long story short, it was negative 13 at my house the other day. Started up, went to work, didn't even think about the truck gelling up. Brayden's LML, same thing. So that's just one of those things that, peace of mind, it goes a long way with us. And when I have a customer walk in our shop and go through the service department and order a lift pump, last thing I want to do is hear them reaming my butt because, they were on the side of the road for something I didn't build, but I, suggested to sell.
Right.
So
I was going to ask you guys, with the polar vortex that's hit that region, we didn't get it out here, but I've been hearing stories, and I thought, I'm sure you guys got some stories or feedback of how cold it was and having these lift pumps on trucks out in the field.
yeah, I don't know how many of our pumps we had out that were involved with it. I haven't heard anything yet about any of them gelling up. I know our in-house trucks, Brayden's truck was not treated with any fuel treatment, and mine was.
Laziness.
And but neither of them left us stranded, and it wasn't like it was cold for just one day. We had 0 for a couple days, and then negative 13 one night. Brayden said he saw negative 17 at his place. So
Well, the wind chill's terrible too. I mean, it was 20 mile an hour, 30 mile an hour winds blowing in some weird stuff around us. I mean, it's 50 one day and 5 degrees the next, and it's the wind chill, though. I mean, if you've got exposed fuel system components, especially with the new
Filters.
ultra low sulfur diesel, the gel point is so high nowadays.
and you got to watch it. Some of these bio blends, you don't know what you're getting, and they gel up quicker. So again, our key here, we want to build something that just was simple but functional, and hit our horsepower target.
I think no news is good news. So I think
Yeah, I agree.
Just kind of moving on to some other features of the pump. I mean, if you've got a bad fuel level sender, that doesn't get fixed. Most people would then say, okay, well, I'm going to put on an aftermarket fuel system, and I need a new sending unit, so when I pull the bed off or drop the tank, I'll do it all at once. Well, it's two birds. You get new level sending, 100% OEM scaling. Some of the aftermarket sending units you get out there are correct at empty and full, but in the middle they're not exactly the same sweeps. And why they do this is beyond me. They're not linear curves or linear lines between empty and full. We found that out the hard way. Well, we threw one in my truck and it was exactly opposite, empty and full. And I mean, the guys figured it out. They were like, hey, this resistor card is wrong. Got to talk to the supplier. But anyways, I'm tooling down the road and I forgot, and they told me and warned me and did everything but put a post-it note on the dash. I'm like, man, this thing's getting great mileage. And it's past the full mark. Like the orange needle's past the F. And I put exactly 34 gallons in that truck. But that's a testament to you're getting every last drop of fuel out of that tank. So
that's exactly what I was going to ask you, is about the fuel sending unit and also the fuel lines. I know, like running on other kits, running the fuel lines can kind of be sort of a pain, or if it's a vehicle that's used in a field or in the mountains or whatever it might be, and you're getting road debris all the time. How does this, do you reuse the factory fuel lines up to the injection pump?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, like Chase said, that truck of his made 800 horsepower to the tires, the blue truck. And there's a point where perception, okay, yeah, we have to have 1/2 inch or 5/8 lines or whatever, some big line. But for 800 horsepower, if it does that at the tires, and we're not just, a lift pump company. We make it all. We make the turbo, we make the injection pump, we can do the tuning, spec the, everything.
Build the engine.
Build the engine, yeah. So when we bring this whole combo together and it passes the 800 horse rear wheel test, then we're happy with it. If it doesn't need bigger lines, then there's no reason to replace it. The OEMs spent a lot of time and money putting those where they're at, and for crash protection and getting them up in the frame rail safe. And we got to think about those kind of things as we become a bigger company. It's like product liability. Bad things can happen and some weird situations.
Yeah,
And
I think about a fuel sump. Last thing you want to do is go rock crawling with a fuel sump on your truck.
or just going through a chisel plowed field.
Yeah, you get a corn stalk, rip the fuel line off. In corn country where we're at in Indiana, that's pretty common. Farmers, go in and out of side ditches and cornfields, and that stuff happens. So we kind of err to the side of just making the thing super simple and try to keep it simple.
I think for the install too, whether it's a shop or a truck owner doing it, all these things factor into saving time and getting a quality product on the truck, something you can depend on and make the power that you want. And that's why we're really excited to chat with you guys about it. And the feedback that we're getting as well from just on social media or emails that we get, they're like, get the Fleece guys on. We want to hear about the lift pump system. One's coming out for my truck. And you guys had mentioned the LML earlier, and I wanted to just kind of turn it over to you guys and have you tell us about this lift pump system that you guys have for the LML.
Well, fortunately, it's basically the exact same as the one we talked about for the Cummins. We still rate it the same power level, even though the motor pretty much will explode before then.
He's a Duramax hater.
I don't know. I like the LML. It's probably the favorite out of all of them for me. In our shop, we get a lot of customers come in. We're selling the Cheetah, set of injectors. Put a 10 mil pump on them. They'll make 650, 700 horse, which that's about the limitation of where we want them anyway. You get much over that, and you get head gasket problems, and crack a piston or bend a rod, break a crank. There's plenty of things that ail them.
Duramax hater. Listen to him.
So, long story short, like the one that our shop truck that I drive quite a bit, it's got stock injectors, but it's a 240,000 mile truck. But as a Cheetah, we tuned it. Have our lift pump, 10 mil injection pump, the Powerflow 750, and that thing's just a ball. We enjoy driving it. It rips. They're great trucks, and that's something moving forward. That's going to be a more affordable truck for a lot of people. And when you have a CP3 conversion or something like that getting put on, that's an easy swap. Putting our Powerflow pump in the tank, and some guys are like, oh, the stock filter stinks. You get something different. Well, a couple ways of looking at that. I like what's going on there. GM's got a nice 1/2 inch high flow line all the way up there. You've got a factory fuel filter. You can pick it up anywhere in the United States. You don't have to have some sort of special fuel filter for the truck. I'm kind of a maintenance freak anyway. I change the fuel filter every other oil change, so it's like every 10,000 miles. Probably more often than some people would run. But long story short, that pump, CP3 conversion, those are just core parts that need to go together. It's an easy sell for shops as well.
With now, say somebody out there is listening, they're like, I just picked up a used LML. I don't really know much about the performance side of it. But what power level do they need to, say, go with a Powerflow pump to be able to get increased performance? Is it about 500 horsepower, 475, maybe 505, somewhere right in that range where they're going to need to do something like this?
It depends on if it's a CP4 truck or a CP3 truck. I mean, a CP3 conversion truck, those trucks have got extra fuel. I mean, they're high displacement pump than the CP4, so they'll actually go well past 500 on a tune-only truck until you run out of air. But you can gain some with a CP4. I still think we were getting 510 to the rear tires. That was Dynojet numbers. But
But they don't
510,
have a
515.
lift pump, so it's the perfect time to put one on it. And
Maybe pick up. Well, I mean, this is not a LML, but like when Ben Shaddy was running his brand new 2018 Dodge, picked up 15 horsepower across the whole curve, just with a lift pump, max effort, emissions compliant tune, and so that was cool. But we run a little higher set point pressure. LML, we run 12 pounds, and then I mean, we can adjust that set point, but we found that, I mean, 800 horsepower to the tire at that setting, it's great. There is a filter block option if you want to replace your GM filter. So
we're working on that. It's not released just yet, but that's something we're working on, and will be available. But I mean, that CP4, there's a version of that on the 6.7 Scorpion Ford, and they seem to have a little less trouble with those. And I don't know if it's because they have a lift pump on them from factory, but that's just one of those things. I don't think you can go wrong with putting a lift pump on an LML. It's one of those key stepping stones to performance on them. So you got to do it one day, sooner or later.
And it's a one-time buy. Like you were saying earlier, you're good to 800 horsepower, and like Chase said, what Duramax is blow up, looking at them? Or
yeah, I mean, it's going to cover all the bases.
No. He's wearing on me, man. I'm the Duramax guy, and I'm driving a Ford right now. It's crazy. Well, supposed to be driving a Ford right now. Yeah, the F-150 with a 3-liter V6. But
how do you like that truck?
It's pretty decent. It's got a 6-inch lift, and if you've seen BDS suspensions advertisements lately, that's my truck they're using. Creature features, man, those trucks are hard to beat. This next round of trucks, 2019 Dodge and the GM coming out, I'm sure that they'll up their game. But Ford's doing a good thing in the interiors, and they're solid trucks. So Chase is in love with his 6.7 Powerstroke, and we got a lot of parts for those out now too.
Can't wait for that 2020 to get released, or order allocation opens up August 7th. I'm not counting down or anything.
Well, you can't have two dualies, so
I'm trading one in. And they're coming out with a steel piston and a new connecting rod. Come on, this is built for
is that fact?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ford released all that data. 36,000 pound injection system.
Man, he'll be building Ford pulling trucks before long.
I laughed when on social media they released it was a 7.3 gas engine, but people just like, even I saw it and I'm like, they bring back 7.3? Nope, it's a gasser.
That was the worst clickbait in the world. Everybody, oh my god, 7.3.
Yeah, they waited, or they did it too early. Would have been perfect for April Fools. Yeah, 7.3 is back with spark plugs. Oh.
Now I've got a list of questions to throw at you guys that are kind of out of left field because I didn't prep you per se on them, but they're questions from our fans about your product line, and a lot of them go in line with this lift pump system we're talking about. But somebody asked, when are you guys going to release an L5P lift pump for his truck?
Well, I'm gonna have to. I got so mad at mine, I put it out to pasture. I bought one, and the day it came out, I took the ECM off and ripped the cover off and started poking and prodding and playing, and GM did a good job on that one. So I got mad at it and put it away. But, with in light of recent events, I mean, people are getting some tuning out there, and it's pretty cost prohibitive. So we're definitely going to go back to other markets before we explore the L5P. And having said that, the in-tank pump on the L5P is run by a fuel pump control module, which is catching GM land CAN data requests from the ECM on what pressure set points to be at and what duty cycle and such. So we'd have to see how our system responds. Ideally, if we had the ability to tune that module or change the requests, it would be great. We could make somewhat of an active pump back there and turn on only one pump when you need it and turn on the second for even more flow and not run a regulator in the top of our pump or our assembly. But that's more development, and I just don't think the market's ready for it yet. But
It's on the radar, but it's not in shooting range.
yeah,
Well, it's one of those things too, and it kind of fits in line with the LML. And this is like the LML. It's like, hey, I've got to get this lift pump on to get to this power level, do these things with it, put a CP3 conversion on turbo. Whereas like the L5P, it's pretty stout, or it's different, I should say,
Yeah,
than
it
an
is.
LML, where you're able to hit these higher power numbers, and you may not need it quite as soon.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's got a good fuel system. It's got pretty good amount of air available. I think people are
Getting
near
close to
600.
600,
Yeah, but the having said that, our direction with the lift pump, we're going to go back. We're going to catch the. We're going to release LML, because just looking at the data, how many LMLs are on the road, there are just an insane amount of those trucks. So it's a great segment in the market. Then we're going to go back to what was it, 98.5.
Yeah,
to
VP trucks,
VP trucks.
98.5 to 02, which we're in the process of working on that right now. Got to make tank flange for it and do a few other things, and do some obviously cold weather testing. But I could see that thing being released this year. So
Oh, Jeff's in the corner cringing.
That's good for him.
Yeah. But
It was actually the next question. Is someone asked when you guys are going to do one for the VP44 truck?
Yeah, there is.
there's a big demand. Everybody's been saying, hey, we can't even get replacement sending units. So if we can get a lift pump and a sending unit all in one unit, it's gold.
Mm-hmm.
And we're definitely going to do it. So that's going to catch your 98.5 to 02 guys.
Yep.
Then we're going to get 04 probably at the same time.
04
and a half
to-
LOYs up to LMMs, 2010s.
Yep.
And then, I mean, the Fords, we were talking to some guys. We have the ability to do them. This pump is capable of, it's rated to 100 psi, so 60 pound. I think it's 6-liter range. 6.7 Powerstroke is 55, 60. So this was 17 and up. Has an in-tank pump on the Ford.
Yeah.
So
That's what things we need to push the factory unit, see how far we can take it, see because that's the thing, the stock Ford lift pump will handle 650, 700 horse. You got to kind of weigh out, does it make sense to mess with it, which we don't know yet. We'll get some data gathered on that and kind of see what we need to accomplish.
This next question is really mine. I can't pretend a listener sent it in, but last time you guys were on, we talked about the Powerstroke and parts that you guys were going to be working on and releasing for it, and I wanted to kind of circle back around with it and ask you guys, what do you have either out now or that's just coming up for the Powerstroke platform?
Well, we've got the 63 mil Cheetah that we've had out, I'd say close to a year. Sales been really well. Our buddy Mike Dillahay keeps buying us out of stock. So
your buddy Mike. I hope he's listening.
yeah, so that's been great so far. We've been selling a ton of them. Had great feedback. Everybody's real happy with what they're doing for them. Dorian down at PSE, he's pretty happy with his, and it's just the one product we have released currently, but. We've got a few other things on our plate, kind of just weighing the market out, seeing what. There's a lot of things that have already been done. We don't want to do it the same way, so I don't know if we want to talk about it yet. I don't want to create too much stir.
We can create some stir, but I don't know. Stay tuned, I guess.
The
trilogy.
On the Cheetah lineup, that was another question we had is, are you guys going to do a Cheetah for the 98.5 to 02 Dodge Cummins?
Yep, got them in stock.
Oh, nice. Ready to go.
Been HX35 Cheetahs on the shelf for a long time. That was the first one that we ever created as a Cheetah. So I guess if somebody didn't know that's available, that's our sales and marketing department's problem.
That's where we're sitting right now.
So we're digging at them. But no, the 98.5 2002 Cheetah, that's really been the first one we ever made. So yeah, they exist.
One of the coolest things about the Cheetah that for years that I've always heard from people is you retain that quick spool or can quicken it versus stock, but you're able to control EGTs and basically have kind of the best of both worlds. So be able to make the additional power, control the EGTs, but not have a ton of lag with it. And it's been really cool to see that product line take off so much and go into these other platforms where when people talk about wanting a little bit better performance, they're talking about, you know, the Cheetah lineup and the different options that are out there. So it's really cool to see what you guys have done with that.
Well, that's one of those things where the turbos, the Cheetahs, like torque makes you smile, and that instant response, and not making a bunch of heat or smoke or overfueling early, where that you get a light turbine and a small compressor wheel, 60 smallish, 63 millimeter wheel, but it can flow a ton of air. I mean, we're from the sled pulling world and Chase, and we've optimized these compressor wheels to where, okay, yeah, 63 millimeters is all we get. Okay, we'll still make 800 horse through it. I mean, we got box stock Cheetahs. Like, people accuse Chase's customers of spraying.
Yeah.
Like, where's the bottle? And it's like, here is the turbo. It is the same one that comes out of the box. Fleece has got 100 in stock. I'm beating you with a stock turbo or a
It's
box
funny.
stock turbo. And
I get messages on Facebook all the time. Hey, I want the same turbo Trevor Hull has, and I'm like, I've got them on the shelf. Like, here's the part number.
no, really.
I want the one he has. And I'm like, this is it.
We'll unbolt it and give it to you, and we'll give him a brand new one. He'll love it.
It's funny. If anybody gets bored, look up Trevor Hull on Facebook and look at some of his videos. He's got a hell of a stout work stock pulling truck. It's pretty neat.
But it's funny that turbo has the capability to do what you just said, work on your tow rig that's stock fueling, just a tune, or a little bit bigger injector, or how many percent over? A lot.
350, 400% over. I mean, plenty big.
Yeah. So 400% over with a 63 wheel. It's usually not the combo, but I mean, with short duration and fueling it like you're supposed to, like if Cummins wanted to make more power in that engine, they wouldn't drag the pulse width out. They would put a bigger injector in it and look at the whole design.
Yeah.
And
We
Chase is
don't
on.
want to give too much away here, but
Well, come on. I mean,
yeah.
yeah. Chase is on the dyno with a Duramax right now, and what do you call it?
Make Duramaxes great again. We're working on it. I got some stuff up my sleeve. I think it's going to run pretty good.
He's like, it's got 8 cylinders. I mean, it's just wrong. You only need 6. Like, just go over there and
It has potential. It's just it's been one of those things that I'm trying some different combustion strategy on it. So we're going to see if that all does what I'm expecting it to do.
that's the thing you don't realize, that all that stuff trickles down into our product development. All that knowledge and all that testing and high performance engine development trickles down eventually. I mean, he's over there on the engine dyno, testing different injectors and combustion strategies, and
Pretty much November to April, I'm over there playing around, and it's a terrible job. It's rough.
yeah, he has it rough. The new building, I was just out there. I got mud all over my boots. It's coming along, but there's 4 engine dyno cells in that building, so definitely putting a lot of eggs into that basket to a high power density engine development, and that stuff's not going to go away. They keep downsizing engines and assembling our little skunk works.
We've been in the truck pulling game for quite a while. It's kind of where we started, especially with the Cheetah turbo line, and that evolved into different classes in the Pro Pulling League 3.0 smoothbore, light limited pro, whatever you want to call it. That class is basically like pro stock and NHRA, and it's all about getting the absolute most power with a limited amount of air, which is a 3.0 turbo, which is 76 millimeter. But we've been chasing Hazley machine for 5, 6, 7 years since the beginning, and it's been fun. We've had something to shoot at, but we finally got the common rails up there where they'll compete with the 12 valves, and we had 2 customers on top of the podium Friday and Saturday night. So that was huge at Scheid, I should say. So that was a big deal for us this year. I should shout them out: Jason Wayman, Jordan Kinderman. Congratulations, big deal.
We had Jason on over the summer, and he was talking to us about his truck and you guys, and it was really cool to hear about sled pulling specifically, but then about that truck and how happy he was with it.
Yeah, he's had an interesting road to success. He's a great guy. That was a cool podcast. I remember listening to that. He's a good one.
One of the other questions, Brayden, you just touched on, but somebody was asking how the new building's coming along, and when do you think you guys are going to be ready to move in?
Well, we were hoping to have some of an open house for UCC. Probably not going to happen. We may drag some people out there and show them, but we've had a terrible fall and wet winter and just odd weather. It's just, it won't freeze. It's like I said, it's like 5 degrees one day and 50 the next. And so that's pushed a lot of things, concrete especially, and we're blasting a bunch of temporary heat into that building. But yeah, 60,000 square foot building, like an acre and a third under roof, and I'm trying to heat it, so it's no fun. But they poured the second floor slab, 5-inch slab in there, and put a lot of our engineering offices and stuff up there. And then I was out there helping get some of that stuff ready, prep for the office pour. So once they get that done, it'll really start coming together. All the engine dyno cells are in, which is cool. They're really neat to see. It's going to be a state of the art.
And they're safe. They're all
12-inch grouted solid, full of 5/8 rebar. I mean, just try to blow it up.
I'm going to invite LaVon over. I'm going to invite LaVon and Drew over one day, and we're going to put her to the test. We'll all have a great time.
We'll do it for the gram. We're going to do it. We're going to do it for YouTube for the hits.
Yeah.
There'll be an ad in front of every hit. Yeah. We'll sit back and pay for that building with YouTube.
Yeah, that video blew up on YouTube.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
The engine or the video? Both.
Both, yeah.
Yeah.
I saved the best question.
The building's coming along. Go ahead.
I saved the best question for last, and this one, Brayden, I think you're going to want to hand over to Chase. But this listener asked, when are you guys going to do more 12-valve products? So he's into the dinosaur engine, mechanical injection.
Well, I guess we do make we make a Cheetah for the 12-valve. We make a coolant bypass for the 12-valve. We make a common rail conversion kit for it.
Actually, we kind of did with Derek Rose's motor.
Yeah, man. But in all seriousness, there's a lot of people that do the 12-valve good and well, whatever you want to put it. I really don't think we're going to head down that market anytime soon on like fuel system. I don't see us heading anywhere near them. P-bumps scare me. Other than that, I mean, engine work, Freedom, if he needs an engine rebuilt, Freedom Racing Engines can handle that. Needs coolant bypass or a turbocharger, we can help him with that as well. So,
and I kind of alluded to it earlier. There's people that do that well, and you spread yourself too thin and you can't be good at anything. Maybe you can, but you just don't want to get too spread out. We're known as the electronics and technical company that tackle the difficult stuff, and 98. Well, I mean, VP trucks, we're coming out with that. We may explore a lift pump, but I don't know.
That's just one of those things. I look at it like this. A guy knows a 12-valve. He's the guy that hates electronics. When the EMP hits, his shit will still run. You put an electric lift pump on it, and now it's not bomb-proof. So,
well, there's no electronics. It's just a motor, but
yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. So probably not gonna dedicate much R&D towards a 12-valve, but Yeah.
Yeah.
Lift pump would be about the only electronic product or new product we could adapt to it.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't be too big a deal to do. Just depends, you know, if the market's there and people want it. You know, we're not afraid to go that route. I guess just have to take a survey, see what they want.
Well, I think with our talk today about lift pumps, Cheetahs, engines, Powerstroke stuff, we probably have spawned another 10 episodes that we can talk to you guys and go off into all these directions, and then we're pulling you guys off dynos and R&D and all that kind of stuff. So we don't want to take up too much of your time. But I think that the talk of... Oh, go ahead, Brayden.
Well, maybe the next one we'll do live inside the new building.
Yeah, that would be cool. I've been following it on social media. I've seen it's... I mean, it's...
We could stream it too. People can watch our reactions and see Chase's face.
It's a very impressive build.
It's really funny looking.
It's definitely impressive, and I think it's one of the things that's so cool with diesel performance and seeing it. I have definitely not been around since the beginning, but just seeing how much it's grown and seeing like the building you guys are having and the technology and the ideas that are going to come out of there, it's really exciting as a performance enthusiast to just think of the possibilities.
Yep. I mean, I don't know if we said it last time, but we started as customers. We bought our trucks and we bought the first performance product. Chase bought a little box from Hazley's at Scheid.
Yeah, I bought it from Patty. Yep. It was a JVD torque enhancer.
Yeah, and it wasn't
and I didn't enhance it enough.
And so we drive up to Fairmount,
Van and Patty's place, and you know they sold us a set of injectors.
Like, well, if you clip this wire, it'll go up another level, but it's going to wreck your pump. And Chase like, I don't care, where is it?
Yeah, clip them all.
And so then it was just enough. But I mean so you know that was 2003, 4. We went from being...
It was 4, and yeah, summer of 2004.
Went from being customers, and then in a few years kind of started a shop, and then 47 employees, I believe it is now. So it's been a wild ride.
I know the performance enthusiasts out there, the diesel community, they appreciate all that you guys do and look forward to, you know, what is Fleece coming out with next? What are they doing with this pulling engine? You know, what's going on with this race engine? What about this turbo? So it's really exciting for us to have you guys on, be able to talk to you about these products, and then also some of the other things you guys have planned this year that we, you know, feel lucky and fortunate to be able to tell the story and have you guys talk to us. So I know you guys are busy and everything, but appreciate your time today and the knowledge and giving us an insight into Fleece Performance and what you guys have coming out here, you know, pretty soon, and what guys can buy right now that's on the shelf.
Well, thanks for having us on. I mean, we enjoy it every time we're on and get to talk a little more about everything we've got going. And there's the list of development projects or products that we have going.
It's growing, not shrinking.
No, but we're executing and getting a lot of them done. I think Jeff just sent a new product release for 5.9 dual pump kits and lots of different SKUs, and that blasted out yesterday. So good timing with this podcast. And we've got one. I know that the first comment about that you're going to get, or first question is going to be, when's the exhaust brake coming out? So I'll just go ahead and say it right now. Soon. We've got a bunch of them on trucks here and doing really well. And yeah, that's one of those things that we may have jumped the gun a little bit by displaying that, but it definitely gauged market interest well. And we're going to adapt that to as many applications as possible.
That'll be huge. Yeah, the exhaust brake, and yeah, there's a big need for that, and it'll be wildly successful.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a good one.
Don't forget, diesel fans, to learn more or to purchase anything you heard Brayden and Chase talk about on the podcast today, go to fleeceperformance.com. They've got these kits in stock, ready to go, and they've got a ton of other products as well. So anything you're looking to do to your truck, those guys can help you out. We also want to encourage you to bookmark dieselworldmag.com on your browser. Stay up to date on the latest in diesel information, races, especially as we're getting into race seasons coming up here pretty soon. Those guys are on top of it. And for gearing, re-gear your truck, get that RPM back, help the overall performance of it, the drivability. Go to www.nitro-gear.com. Check out those guys. Give them a call if you have any questions, need some help. They're more than happy to chat with you. Until next time, keep the shiny side up.